Hello, everyone. Hello, we're live here on Friday. Hello, this is Irene with SaugaTalks and with me, Brian Thomas from Coruzant Technologies. Hello, Brian. How are you this afternoon?
It's great. The weather is kind of strange. We went through this warm weather, and then we had some snow this week, and then we're just kind of all over the place, which is strange. But again, that's how it is, I guess, everywhere. But going great. Had some great guests yesterday. On I'll have to share with you later. But a little teaser here is Sophia the robot. We'll talk about that maybe if we have some time at the end. But week's going well.
Exciting. Spring is coming. Spring is coming. And for us today is a very special day because Jim Sinur is with us. Hello, Jim. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Doing really well. Thank you so very much because, Jim, with your wealth of experience and wisdom and just understanding trends out there, right, with your blog, which I'm following all the time, and we're going to talk about customer journey and observations that you find out there that are important for technical leaders, for business people, and we're going to touch some of the technical trends, Jim. So where do you want to begin with customer journey mapping for our audience today?
Well, let's start with the big picture. There are 10 big business trends that I've identified on my blog. And one of the big ones is all about the customer experience. And customer journey mapping is a piece of that whole thing. If you talk to different people about how to improve customer experience, you're going to get different answers. Some are going to say, I'll change my screens to be more friendly. I'll have a better process flow. I'll manage things within my organization better so that the customer, is much more loyal. And then there are others that say, well, I'm going to take an outside-in viewpoint, and I'm going to look at the customer's journey and their goals, regardless of what my company does and how my company fits in their overall thing. So, for instance, if you're going on a trip, we see that there are airline websites, there are car rental websites, there are hotel rental websites. Wouldn't it be nice to get all in one? And, somebody has come up with that. There are like 3 or 4 different ways to do that. So they're looking at it from a customer journey perspective. And I can put in my goals into a number of them, and it'll optimize my goals. Regardless of, the hotel I'm dealing with, regardless of the airline I'm flying on, regardless of the car company that I'm dealing with. So the customer journey is a complex thing and has multiple different meanings. But, it's a very, very hot trend along with intelligent automation, which is on fire right now. And also AI being in everything. We're seeing smarts peppered throughout technology, and it's going to get more and more embedded, and it's going to do more things. Today, we're kind of on the machine learning side of things, where we're looking at data, which is a different approach than we had in the 80s, where you're actually having the machine doing some thinking and the software doing some thinking using things like Lisp, et cetera. So those are all part of the bigger picture. But a real big picture is now we're talking about innovation at the corporate level, at the business level, that isn't just IT driven. It's business driven, it's customer driven, it's constituent driven. And so with that in the big picture, along with customer journeys aren't just customer journeys. There's a whole jungle of journeys inside of companies. There's product journeys, there's employee journeys, there's manager journeys, there's journeys for all kinds of profiles of the kinds of people and inanimate objects and bots that need to be monitored. So that's my gateway to what is customer journey mapping. I think people view that as pretty narrow. Because customer journeys is a lot more complex than that. And if you talk to the average customer, a lot of them, the best you can do is with them, if you're looking at it from a corporate viewpoint, is not to make it negative. And I think that's what the accountants have taught us, and they put the squeeze on customer service reps to make sure that the accounting goals are met first and the customer's goals are placated. And that's the big picture. So what does customer journey mapping do for you? Well, there's a couple of kinds. The first kind is about looking at the current situation. So you, in essence, mine the journey. So you might use process mining tools, you might use journey mining tools, and that gives you a nice as is and says, here's what's happening. Maybe even point to some opportunities, maybe point to, things that are getting lost in the shuffle, pointing to, opportunities to please customers. And that's a legitimate customer journey. The other part is the 2B, which says, look, I think I understand my current journey, but I want to make it better. I want to go outside the four walls of my organization. I want to span the silo departments inside of my company. And I want to work on not only my accountant's goals and my company's goals, I want to work on my customers' goals. Wow, what an idea. And so what they'll do is they'll map out a journey. Sometimes you'll see pictures of people doing it on whiteboards where everybody's all together, but that's kind of old school. Today, they're collaborating, and they're collaborating with a modeling tool. Now, what we're seeing is those two streams are merging. So not only do you have the ability to vision out a new customer journey, but blend that with the current journey. And so we're seeing tools like Signavio having both capabilities. We see a little bit in Verint. And we see a number of vendors really going at that. Pega's doing it as well. So some of the bigger vendors are kind of leading the way where these things converge. And so it's really important to understand that a customer journey not only represents you, but it represents, the customer and how they feel. And it basically represents reality, what's happening inside of your company, and where do you want to take it? Does your customer journey match what your company says?
Brian, you have any comments to?
So Jim, no, great points, and I'm seeing more and more job descriptions or positions around the customer success manager or the customer success life cycle. Do you think that's people are waking up to, hey, we've got an issue here with retaining customers or making that customer experience, like you said, a positive one? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts is we're moving to a new generation that won't take guff from anybody. It used to be that people wouldn't change. They're kind of loyal, and it's easy. You talk to a millennial, you get them honked off, they'll switch like that. They're not afraid of online. They know how to manage their situation. They'll dump you in a heartbeat. And frankly, that's the part of millennial that I like. Either give me good service or I'm disappearing. And people are measuring customer sat in a bunch of different ways. And because they're measuring it in different ways, you need different people. So, let's look at some of the measures. I've got them in front of me, and I've got a blog post on this as well. But if you take a look at some of the measures, it's net promoter score. Everybody talks about that, but there's a lot of contribution to the net promoter score. How long do people wait? Are you buying them off when they complain online? I've had people that were servicing me. They said, well, since I gave you good service, you better write a good survey for me. Well, yeah, that left a good taste in my mouth. I'm not coming back. You should give me good service because you think I'm worth keeping. Maybe that's egotistical, but I think customers are taking care of themselves and they're not afraid to switch.
Sure. There's no loyalty anymore. So yes, we all get that. right? So we started with how companies should use technology for customer journey mapping, but you said, Jim, that technology is also very collaborative nowadays, right? There's no more silos between IT and business. So any new updates in 2021? What kind of technologies you think really helpful this year?
Yeah, I think people are doing different approaches to this. Some say, I don't even know what's going on. So let me take a look at what's really going on. So they'll do things like focus groups by talking to customers. They'll actually look at an audit trail of what's happening. They'll match it against comments, and customers that are organizations that really don't know what's happening are spending a lot of effort there. And frankly, those vendors are very successful because a lot of companies think they know what's going on, but they don't. Did I make my quarterly number or didn't I? So because that's top priority, they really don't know what's going on. So the technology is used that way. There are other companies that say, I don't want to sit there and model and collaborate, even though I can put notes on and collaborate and say, hey, Brian, great point. We didn't need to think about that. That's good. And I like the online collaboration, particularly when we're talking about follow the sun teams that we have all over the place. Then and frankly, modeling has to have those things, or it's losing its pertinence to identifying the new. But another thing that's coming up is in the intelligent automation area, there are a lot of people that are prototyping, and business users are prototyping. They're using low code. They're using certain AI algorithms. They're looking at their operations instead of on a dashboard that has a delay. They're now doing real time using data meshes in the cloud. And so now you've got a real time view of what is going on. Can I affect it? And so we're going to see more assistance instead of a pre-written script for every service rep or a pre-written web travel for somebody that wants to work all online. We're going to see dynamic. So the notion of, I'm kind of an older generation. I like to talk to people. I don't necessarily want to do it all online. So I'll call up, and I can tell most of them are working with scripts. But every once in a while, you get somebody that has something that's whispering in their ear saying, hey, I'm doing analysis, sentiment and analysis, and this guy really is a great customer, and he's really quite perturbed about his situation. So that sentiment and analysis is telling me what's going on. It's capturing all my words to know, even capturing when I mentioned the competition, capturing what's frustrating me, and it's creating an analytical model to say what's going on. And because of that, people are trying different approaches, and they're doing it in a sandbox approach. Let me give you a real live example, because you asked about case studies. As you know, the airline business isn't exactly a fun one to be in COVID. And even post-COVID, they're getting whipsawed from nobody in the seats to people fighting for the seats. And so there's this one large airline, I can't mention their name because I don't have permission, but I'm aware of their case study where, and I don't know if this has happened to you, if you're a frequent traveler or not, well, you run into a storm and they have to rebook you. And what do you get? You get it their way. You're getting it over easy with greasy fries. That's what you're getting. And so they said, well, why don't we put something in the hands of the customer and have them reroute what they want. Even if it's another airline, we're going to show them that. And they're saying, and maybe even adding some incentives. But initially, it was done because, weather was starting to get a little bit scarier. Whether you believe in climate change or not, the weather is not like it used to be. It's unpredictable, and we're seeing more violent swings, whether you believe in climate change or not. I do. They said, well, we've got this prototype. They use things like, small services, and they built it in the cloud, and they were able to, have the business people lead it. And it was low code composition kinds of capabilities in the cloud. They had it running, and it kind of worked. And they tweaked it, and they rolled it out to a small audience, and they said, this is pretty good. Then all of a sudden, Florida gets hit with multiple hurricanes. And so does New Orleans. And so do a number of different places where these guys fly. And they go, wow, we're on the cloud. The business users let it. The customers like it. Why don't we just roll it out immediately? And they did. And so customers were rerouting based on where they were, the situation they were in. They knew what kind of airplane, what kind of seat they were going to get, when it was going to take off, how long they'd have to wait, munching on candy bars and beer. That's what most people do. But anyhow, no, I don't. So they were able to roll this out. So, you've got a number of things going on here. One is they realized they had a problem with their current system. And by the way, their current system was on the cloud. So they're using hybrid. They're using the old one for all the other regions, and they were using the cloud one for a select set of regions. And they said, well, why don't we roll it out? So easy on the cloud. Bang. Let's put it out in New Orleans. Let's put it out in Florida. Let's put it out in the Carolinas. Those are the kinds of places that get hit with hurricanes. Also Mexico, and they're active in the Mexican tourist trade. And they did this during COVID, and now it's going to become part of their system, and it's all going to be run on the cloud now. So they've gotten a number of things done. They got business people trying things. You've got customers happier with a new journey. In that instance, it's a mini journey. It's not the whole journey. And so they're learning from this, and they literally moved something to the cloud, and they had a reason to, so it wasn't just a conversion. Who wants to say, well, I want to go to the cloud because I want it a little bit cheaper? It takes a lot of effort to put it in the cloud. So they said, well, why don't we put something new in the cloud and see where it leads us?
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, Brian. Yeah, any thoughts sparkled by this example?
Yeah, there's a lot of good information here that we can glean from Jim, but I wanted to touch on that point. You mentioned some of the tools, intelligent automation. We talked just last week on real-time search, right? We talked with a gentleman from LucidWorks, Will Hayes, and how these bots are actually responding intelligently in real time. So you're getting feedback real time. So you can actually address that instead of doing the old fashioned, hey, let's send them a survey a week later or a day later. And, by that time, who wants to do a survey? So I think that employing these automated systems, these intelligent systems, and being able to react or change something real time before checkout. That's amazing. And that's some of the technologies that I've been not only reading on, but talking to some of the CEOs of these companies. And it's just simply amazing. But have you seen anything, I guess, from your point of view that you felt was, and you don't have to mention names. I was just curious if you see anything out there that really would resonate with kind of the state of affairs as far as this innovation we're seeing this last year.
Well, there's a couple of ways to name it. You can call it agents, you can call it bots, you can call it little servlets, you can call it, microservices, whatever you call it. These things are getting smarter, and they're on the edge. So they're doing three things as I see it. Well, maybe four. Let's make it four. First is they're out there snooping and sniffing. So, if you're a manager, you can't watch a dashboard all day. So let's say you have a fast board instead of a dashboard, and it's real time. Can you really watch it? Can you really watch it for everything that's happening? No. I mean, people are, they have one system at a time, but we're growing to what is known as a management cockpit and flying by wire. And so, if you've ever seen some of the modern airplanes, they warn you when something's happening. And so there's going to have these sniffer bots or sniffer agents. And by the way, I wrote a book on the third wave of BPM in 2013 that talked about how we're headed towards bots and agents and collaboration and swarming. It's probably going to be worked out in the war world first, unfortunately. And so first they can notify, and that's good. Second is they can help you with your decision. It can say, well, here's some emergent data. And these things are aimed at emergence. I mean, most of the systems and processes we write for, well, we know this happens, we know that happens, and you write a system. And then you might tweak some rules, but today's world is much more emergent. I mean, COVID taught us all about emergence, didn't it?
I hope so. I certainly hope so that it taught us. Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, emergent strategies, emerging operations. We're still getting this sting in our supply chain from COVID, and its effect on our labor force, our supply chains, our value chains. And so things are more emergent. So, Irene, you look like you'd be a crown jewel customer. Brian, you look like a regular customer. Me, I'm a sloob. So let's say all three of us ordered something in a supply chain. And it's an emergent situation that, we all ordered the same thing. Well, who are you going to give it to first? The sloob? No, you're going to give it to Irene, right? Why not? Because she's great. So
this is not a paid promotion by Irene, Jim, today, okay? Just a disclaimer out there. No, this is fantastic. So we talked about bots that getting smarter, right?
Right.
There is no excuse anymore, right, of using some of the old practices.
Yeah, and so what this one's doing is it's sensing a problem, that there's three orders, there's a supply chain that's slow. In the middle of the supply chain, it's offering a decision to the manager to say, let's take care of Irene. Are you okay with that? And if the bot has a freedom level, it can do that automatically. And then it dynamically diverts my part or product to Irene. And that's in production in a number of supply chains already. So the idea of smart bots getting smarter, on the edge exploring, two, helping you with your decisions, and three, suggesting actions. The fourth is if you give it freedom, it can negotiate with other bots to dynamically service, or it can actually do it itself. So that's where we're headed. I mean, just take a look at, I hate to use the war analogies, but I mean, they're getting rid of airplanes and pilots, and they've got drones that are assisting. And that's why the F-35 is there, because it can coordinate drones. It can be a data platform. It's not a weapon platform. It's a data platform. In fact, it doesn't carry a lot of munitions, to be honest with you, but that's why it's there.
I prefer delivery drones, Jim. Okay, if we can.
Yeah. Let's do delivery. Well, they're just delivering bombs in one case. Yeah, I know.
Boys will be boys. Yes, I get that.
It's not boys will be boys. DARPA will be DARPA. That's what it is. So, so we see that a lot of these things get done in manufacturing and by government and by defense before it hits business, and it's starting already. On the edge, where we see it the most is in smart city management. True. So take, for instance, in Sydney, they have a lot of rivers going through, they have trains going through, they have ships going through, they have cars that are operating every day. They dynamically have sensors to know how to route everything so that everything gets at least a blended output. So there's still going to be some people a little bit irritated that are on the road. They had to wait for a bridge. There are going to be some people are still irritated, ready for waiting for a train, but they try to optimize it. So the city of Sydney has been doing this for a decade. There's also the notion of Heathrow Airport, where they have limited space and they have a growing number of flights, or at least they did, and they're going to go back to that. And what I don't know if you ever flown through Heathrow, but the passenger is, you wait, you don't get any visibility, and you better, have a couple of drinks because you're going to need it. And so now they can tell when a plane is within landing range, within a country range, automatically have the gate set up, have all of the servers there, cleaners, next crew, food, whatever, ready for them. The plane touches down and knows in real time that it's touching down, gets everything there and turns it over. And so you don't have to spend all of your day in the retail environment that, they have set up for you, with all these expensive shops. I go in there and I say, what can I
did exactly that, Jim, because I missed my connection in Heathrow, okay? It was not my fault at all. It was like all these, logistics failings. And I spent 8 hours in that facility, so I don't want to go back. But I'm glad that, hey, technology moving forward, and again, government like airport and, big entities employing more and more.
And the Italians have an airport where they know where you're coming from. And they automatically guide you how to get through their airport, Leonardo da Vinci Airport. And they know whether you're coming from foot traffic, they know whether you're coming from plane traffic. They can speed up certain security lines or slow them down, all using smart bots. So this is happening, and we're going to see it in the transportation and physical worlds, smart cities, smart airports, smart buildings. And it'll leach over into white collar solutions. We had bots at the insurance company that I was at that were AI bots that, they were actually prototyped in AI because AI wasn't so good back then. It required special machines, et cetera, that would help junior underwriters make the same decisions that doctors did by looking at blood chems, by looking at the reasons for double vision. So this stuff does exist, and it's going to spread rapidly, and it's going to make customer journeys better. And imagine that if there's a bot whispering in your ear saying, this client's upset, give him this. Not an offer to buy more like the accountants want, but maybe some extra points, maybe a coupon, maybe a free drink. I'd go for that. So,
intelligent product recommendation, not just any product, random.
Yeah, not just a script. It's whispering in your ear. Now, my wife hopes there's one that's invented for taking me out into public. That would whisper in my ear and tell me what I need.
Technology is coming after you, Jim Sinur. Yes. I'm sure there are bright minds out there working. Yes, gentlemen, this is fantastically delightful conversation and and inspiring too. So, Brian, before we're closing, any good comments here for Jim or the audience?
No, this is amazing, and fortunately or unfortunately, the military, the Department of Defense typically gets the newest technology, obviously, but that's that is a good thing. It's a deterrent, if anything, makes us sleep a little bit better at night. But Jim, you're right. These technologies are becoming mainstream now. We just talked a little bit about quantum computing. It's there. It's been there. And I talked to a quantum computing expert just recently on a podcast, and he said it's going to be mainstream in about 5 to 6 years. And he says we need to be prepared for that. Now, the benefits are great, but there are some risks. There are people that just like to do nefarious things, and if they can get their hands on that type of processing power, it's it could be game over.
Yeah. If they use quantum to break blockchains, imagine that. We think we're safe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something certainly interesting. And I know that some people are already working on ways to protect us from the supercomputer that's coming. So
exactly.
anyway,
It's a
that's my
lot of
thoughts.
work to do, gentlemen, right? It's a lot of work to do, and we're only scratching the surface. I keep hearing from researchers, from those, who are looking into the future, thinking that, hey, people will be unemployed and, it's not enough jobs going around. No, we just, in the middle of huge changes, right, that will require this intellect and human abilities, right?
Yeah, there's a shift going on. When I came out of school, I was told, go work in a factory. I'm going like, they're automating the factory. Why would I do something stupid like that? So I went into programming. Well, other people are going to be into, hey, they're going to get rid of these low-level jobs. Maybe I better get some education. And maybe the government's going to help me pay for that education. Now, I know there's some plans out there where at least community college is going to be much more affordable. And I came out of probably the poorest of poor neighborhoods. I mean, it's called a ghetto now. And I paid for my own community college and worked my way out. But can you imagine the number of people that'll benefit from, getting some free education and focusing on the newer things?
Yes,
Excellent.
yes. A lot of leaders focusing on this, and I'm speaking with a lot of CEOs here who's actually very unexpected, agenda item now is really growing that talent. Because frankly, everyone realizing, right, we are short of, right, what capable, skillful population over here. So it's totally different topic. But hey, we started with customer journey.
Yeah, and in fact, if you read the latest Kiplinger letter, they're saying so many people are making that decision. Nobody wants to do the low-level jobs. So you can't get people to make food in restaurants anymore.
Yeah. So some of it will be automated and some of it will require,
Well, they're already automating it. Just wanted to throw in, there's a company out there called Wings or Let's Butterfly that is actually building autonomous, no matter what the business is, if you're a restaurant, if you're any service industry, they bring everything to you. So the owner, the creative person, can continue to grow and focus on the customer and the business while the back office is 100% automated. And we're talking intelligent automation from robotic process automation, you name it. And yeah, it's really, really cool. So it's all here.
I think it's going to be great once we get some standards. One RPA bot doesn't talk to another RPA bot. One's growing up on a farm and one's growing up in a field, and they don't talk to each other. We got some huge standards issues to work through.
Good, gentlemen. Thank you so very much. Delightful Friday conversation on automation, on trends, but customers and people, because this is all right for us, for humans, hopefully, right, going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, every other Friday I am. Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. You are a wealth of knowledge. So absolutely, I will link your blog post in this video because you write regularly, and you are keep enlightening us on all the innovations out there. Brian, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. It was good fun. Namaste.
Namaste.